Expectations for Luke Fickell's squad in Madison in 2023 were near through the roof, and a lot of people were expecting a berth in the Big Ten championship game. That ultimately did not happen as Wisconsin struggled their way through Luke Fickell's first season. However, this team could be ready to break out in the Big Ten Conference. They got a transfer quarterback, a lot of nice transfer pieces, some great talent coming back, and a really darn good head coach in Luke Fickell. So can the Badgers be a Big Ten spoiler in 2024? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to prediction season. It's where I predict all 123 FBS level college football teams, which means I am doing your favorite team. What number did I just say? I meant 134. Scratch out whatever number I just said. I'm predicting all 134 teams, which means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. Thank you so much for watching this video. It helps support my channel in more ways than you can even imagine. And if you would like to continue to support what I do, if you'd like to continue to support what I do here on YouTube, I don't know what's going on with me today. You can like, you can comment, you can share, you can watch my other videos, and anything else you do to interact with the channel helps support what I do here on YouTube. Hopefully I got all of my little stuttering thing out of the way, and now let's talk about Wisconsin football in 2024. How do we do that? Well, we're going to take a deep dive into the team's offense, into the defense, and at the end of this video, we will go through the Badgers' schedule and give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So with no further delay, okay, I lied. There is a little bit more delay. Right over here are going to be the stats that the team either offensively or defensively put up, depending on what screen we're on. And for your viewing pleasure, of course, right down here below the team's logo, I've put the team's coaching staff. So without any further delay, let's talk about the Badgers in 2024, starting out with the most important position on the field, the quarterback position, which means we're starting with the offense. Tanner Mordecai is gone. Was a really, really good player at SMU during his time, came over for his last season of college eligibility to his choosing. Again, he left to go off to the NFL, but Tanner Mordecai was a guy that you thought was in for 3,500 yards, 35 touchdowns, and that just didn't happen. He had 2,065 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Just didn't have any great production at all, and he definitely fell short of his expectation in Madison. So who will be the quarterbacks for Wisconsin this year? Well, Braden Locke does come back, had 777 yards on 152 passes, exactly 50% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns and 1 pick. Okay, not bad, but Wisconsin's looking for something better. Enter Tyler Van Dyke. He is a transfer coming over from the Miami Hurricanes, and, well, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag for Tyler Van Dyke. Last year, 2,703 yards, 19 touchdowns, but 12 interceptions. You definitely want to see that interception number take a step up. And the theory has been, in the right offensive system, Tyler Van Dyke is going to explode, and he is going to play really, really well. Well, Phil Longo is his offensive coordinator. I have a feeling this is the system that he definitely could thrive in. Yes, it is going to be more of a run-heavy system, but Tyler Van Dyke, with the weapons that he possesses in this wide receiver room, which we'll talk about later, I think could be a really, really good quarterback for Luke Fickell in Madison. They're hoping he gets back to his 2021 form, where he had 25 touchdowns and 6 picks on almost 3,000 passing yards. That's the Tyler Van Dyke everyone wants back, especially those fans in Madison. They very well could get that in 2024. Braylon Allen is gone out of this running back room, by far one of the biggest losses to this Wisconsin team, either offensively or defensively. 984 yards and 12 touchdowns for Braylon Allen last season. Still, though, some very talented backs in this room. Ches Malusi is back to probably maybe be that number one guy. He had 307 yards and 4 touchdowns last year, but Jackson Acker was the second leading rusher last year with 322 yards and 2 touchdowns. Malusi did average about 1.5 yards more per carry, however, and Katie Yakimelli is back in the room as well. You also do get a transfer from Oklahoma in Tawee Walker. He is coming into this room, pretty solid player over with the Oklahoma Sooners, and maybe he's going to be that number one guy. Regardless of who it is, the running back room has a lot of very good pieces, and we know Wisconsin always produces good running backs. One of those guys will have a really, really good season, if not multiple of them. You do lose a lot of your top wide receivers, though, through the transfer portal, and it definitely is a big loss to this offense. Chimere Dike is gone. had 328 yards and a touchdown last year. That's the third leading receiver. Skylar Bell had 296 yards and a touchdown last season. He was the fourth leading receiver on the team. And Keontez Lewis was a high upside piece that just never got playing time. He has gone through the transfer portal as well. And sure, why not? Let's talk about the tight end room as well. Hayden Rucci is gone out of that room, 125 yards on 11 catches for him last season. Just wanted to fix a thing I saw. Sorry for the pause. So what does your pass catching room look like now? Well, your pass catching room now is going to look like this. Your leading receiver does come back. Last season, that was Will Pauling, 837 yards on 74 catches with 6 touchdowns. Likely will be that top target again. Bryson Green comes back, second leading receiver. Vinny Anthony and CJ Williams also return. And you do get some guys coming in through the portal to try to supplement what you lost with DK and Bell. So coming over from my apologies. Coming over from Michigan State is Tyrell Henry, and then Joseph Griffin Jr. is coming over from Boston College. They could be pretty solid pieces to this wide receiver room, definitely. And in this tight end room, Tucker Ashcraft and Riley Nowakowski are both going to be coming back, and Jackson McGowan is in from LSU. So there's an SEC transfer coming in coming in at the tight end position. Could play some pretty good minutes. And with Tanner Bortolini and Michael Fraterni gone to the NFL, Nolan Rucci and Trey Wettig have also left through the transfer portal. Your offensive line, I think, is going to be a combination of these 6 guys. Riley Malman, Joe Huber, Jack Nelson, Joe Brunner, Jake Renfro, and Leighton Nelson coming in through the portal. I think your offensive line will see a combination of those guys. Again, can Tyler Van Dyke get back to his 2021 form? You will also take the stat he put up last year, 2,700 passing yards. Wisconsin just really hasn't had a super dynamic quarterback off the top of my head in quite some time. Van Dyke can be that. Yes, this is still probably going to end up being a run-first team, especially with some of the talent they have in this running back room. But even with the losses in the portal, this is a pretty good pass-catching room that I think is going to be overlooked because you have some rooms like Oregon, Ohio State, maybe even a room like Penn State in that Big Ten conference. USC as well. Wisconsin is going to be a team here that has a pretty good room, is going to have a pretty good offensive line once they come together. And if the Badger offense can see Tyler Van Dyke explode, well, you're in for a treat in 2024. Definitely could see over 400 yards per game. The defense, though, the defense is what the lead in Madison has been for so long. The defense strives and pushes and sets the standard for this Wisconsin program, and they were not that fantastic last season compared to where some of the Badger defenses in the past have been. Mike Tressel is entering yet another season as the defensive coordinator here, and he definitely does lose some pretty solid players. Let's start out with the defensive line because it loses a lot of guys through the transfer portal. Gio Paez, Rodaz Johnson, and Darian Varner are all gone through the transfer portal. Paez definitely the lead among those. 23 tackles for him last season. Rodaz Johnson, both of those guys off the edge, by the way, 18 tackles and half a sack for him last year. So what does your defensive line return? Well, James Thompson does come back, 29 tackles and 3 sacks off the edge, was the leading tackler among true defensive linemen last year. Kurt Neal, Ben Barton, and Cade McDonald all come back, and you do get a guy in from the transfer portal in Elijah Hills. He is going to be coming over from the University of Albany and could see some solid playing time on the defensive line. You do lose a couple linebackers to the NFL here. Young Meta was one of the top tacklers on this team, 5th in tackles with 59 of them and 3 sacks. And then CJ Getz, 59 tackles and 4 sacks for him last season. Did I say 69? I meant 59. Linebackers, you do return Jake Chaney, who was your second leading tackler last year, 80 tackles, 3 sacks. You also are going to be getting Oh, no, my apologies. I forgot to mention some linebackers that are leaving. Jordan Turner is gone through the transfer portal. He was the third leading tackler on this team last season, 61 tackles, 3 sacks. You also are losing Jeff Petrowski due to medical retirement, just decided that he can no longer play football. The doctors did. So while Jake Chaney comes back, you get Daryl Peterson back and Christian Allegro to this linebacker room. However, you do get some really talented transfers coming in, including Tackett Curtis coming over from USC, John Pius, Jaheim Thomas, and Leon Lowry are all also going to be coming back to this linebacker room. Defensive backs, you do lose a couple pieces there. Jason Maitre is going to be gone to the NFL. 33 tackles, 3 pass defended, 1 interception for him last season. And Alexander Smith is off due to graduation. Smith in the cornerback room, 27 tackles, 5 passes defended last season. And Travian Blaylock, he's going to be leaving due to graduation as well. Pretty solid player there in his own right. 7 tackles. Again, was a pretty solid player when he saw playing time. So your defensive back room is going to look like this. Cornerbacks room, I'm going to mispronounce this last name, and I apologize profusely. Nazir Quarian, again, I definitely butchered that, so I apologize. He will be coming back, had 39 tackles, 2 passes defended last season. You get Ricardo Hallman back, who was one of the team lead in passes defended with 5 of them. The passes defended kind of got spread everywhere throughout Wisconsin, but led the team with 7 interceptions, including a pick 6 last season, so that's great to have him back. Jonas DeCloma will also be coming back, and RJ Delancey is a piece they get in through the transfer portal. No transfer portal pieces in the safety room, but you do get a lot of talent back, including your leading tackler and Hunter Wohler, 120 tackles, 6 passes defended, which led the team in 2 interceptions last season. Preston Zachman, Austin Brown, and Kamoy Latu will all be back in the safety room. And kickers are people too, and you get your punter and kicker back from last season. Atticus Bertrams is back to do the punting duties, and Nathaniel Vakos is back to do the primary kicking duties. When you talk about the Wisconsin defense in 2024, what improves from this unit? Your rush defense could use some improving. Your pass defense, for the most part, was pretty good, but could use some improving in certain moments. You want to start keeping teams out of the end zone a little bit more, and I have a feeling that this Wisconsin team is going to start getting back to that defensive standard that we've seen Wisconsin play with in years prior under Paul Chryst. Luke Fickell's a defensive-minded head coach. He had really good defenses when he was at Cincinnati, even had a really good one that helped Cincinnati take a berth to the college football playoff, had some good defenses during his time with the Ohio State Buckeyes as well. This is just a really, really good defensive unit that he has here. There is a lot of good talent coming back in pretty much every position grouping. Getting Chaney back is huge. Getting Hallman back is huge. Getting Wohler back is huge. Some of the pieces on defensive line are going to be good here for this team. If everything can be put together for Wisconsin, they will be one of the Big Ten's better defenses and possibly one of the nation's better defenses in 2024 as well. But now we got to take a look at the schedule for Wisconsin, and it's got some real doozies on here. Hey, any game at home will be underlined, while any game on the road is in italics. That is that slanted text. Any game in green is a game that I think the Badgers should win easily. Any game in yellow is going to be a close, competitive game, but I still see Wisconsin coming out with the win. And of course, red is any loss. The season should start out with 2 wins. They open the season on a Friday in week 1 against the Western Michigan Broncos, and I see this one being a pretty simple win here for the Wisconsin Badgers. Western Michigan, not a great team out of the MAC, so Wisconsin should be able to win. Then they get an FCS level team in South Dakota, even though the Coyotes have potential to be one of the better FCS teams in 2024. I do think that Wisconsin is going to easily be able to handle them. And then one of the more enticing and intriguing matchups in the college football realm in 2024. I feel like a lot of people may be overlooking this one. At least I haven't seen anything being talked about, but this is going to be a big game. The Alabama Crimson Tide, no more Nick Saban, now enter Kalen DeBoer, and the Alabama Crimson Tide have to enter Camp Randall Stadium. And I think Wisconsin has all the pieces necessary to be able to win this one. But in order for Wisconsin to win this one, Tyler Van Dyke has got to be able to get some chemistry going with his wide receivers and his tight ends and his pass catching room to be able to hit Alabama deep and hit Alabama where it hurts, and that is their secondary. Their secondary, especially in that cornerback room, is going to be extremely young, and is the Badger defense up to task to shut down Jalen Milroe and do everything that they need to do to limit what Alabama's offensive attack is going to be. Alabama lost a lot of pieces through the transfer portal due to Nick Saban leaving, but they're still going to be one of college football's best teams in 2024. This is a tough matchup for me here because there are a lot of question marks, but I'm going to go with what I think is the better team. I think the Badgers put up a great fight, but I think the Crimson Tide at the end of the day are the more talented team. Jalen Milroe will make too many plays, and the Badgers will suffer their first loss of 2024. Then you get your bye week before you have to go on the road, and your first Big Ten game of the season you got to go play in the Coliseum against the USC Trojans. Tackett Curtis is going on the road to face his former team, and I think the Badgers suffer their second straight and, well, second loss of the college football season. USC's got a lot of talent offensively, and Miller Moss is there to take over that quarterback room now that Caleb Williams is gone. He's a high upside player with a very, very good wide receiver room led by Robinson and Zachariah Branch. Both of those guys coming back are huge pieces there. USC got some good transfers coming in on the defensive side. DeAnton Lynn should elevate this defense at least somewhat in 2024. But the offensive side of the ball is where I think USC will be able to win this game. Sure, Wisconsin probably will end up being the more physical team, especially defensively, and they're going to give USC a pretty good fight. But I think Miller Moss and the USC Trojan offense makes one too many plays as USC beats Wisconsin to hand the Badgers their second straight loss. But it's okay. I think the Badgers get on a little bit of a win streak here because there are a lot of winnable games. Starting out with the game against Purdue, no slight to Ryan Walters. Boilermakers, they will be better than they were in 2023. Not at the level they need to beat the Wisconsin Badgers. But watch out for these two next road games here. On the road against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights is going to be a very, very tough game. I really like Rutgers in 2024. I think that could be a very fun team to watch. Could play a little bit of spoiler in the Big Ten Conference as well. I think Rutgers is a very, very surprising team, or I think it's going to be a very surprising team. Greg Schiano has taken that team to the Rutgers promised land before. He definitely could do it again in 2024. But again, I think the Badgers at this point, Van Dyke is starting to find some chemistry. The defense is up to standard. They will go on the road and beat Rutgers. And although it won't be as tough of a task as going on the road to beat Rutgers, going on the road to beat the Northwestern Wildcats still will have its fair share of challenges. David Braun did a great job with that team last season, but the Badgers still, I think, will be able to go on the road and get a fairly comfortable win against the Northwestern Wildcats. As the Badgers have a lot more talent. Now they are getting into a very dangerous stretch of the season. I think this stretch is really going to define where Wisconsin sits because these next 5 games here are all very losable games to be as pessimistic as possible. You could lose your last 5 games of the season here, and I think it starts out that way when you lose a game to the Penn State Nittany Lions at home. Penn State, really talented team. They got a very talented backfield, a pretty darn good wide receiver room. Can Drew Aller develop that downfield ball? That's a big question, but the defense is absolutely loaded, and that's what sells it for me here in this game. I don't think Wisconsin's offense is going to have enough punch, going to have enough firepower, especially on the ground, to be able to get through this Penn State defensive front that was really good against the rush last season and will be again in 2024. The Nittany Lions win that game. Then you got to go on the road and play the Iowa Hawkeyes, and Kinnick Stadium is always a tough place to play, and Iowa's going to have another elite defensive team. The really only notable loss out of that defense last season, the only really big notable loss, was Cooper DeJean out of that defensive back room. Pretty much, you get 1 or 2, maybe even 3 major players back in every single defensive room for the Iowa Hawkeyes in 2024. But the offense has been the question mark. Tim Lesterson is the offensive coordinator. How much will the offense improve? I think it will improve a little bit, but this is a game that I think Wisconsin needs to win, and I think they do win. Going on the road, Wisconsin is the more talented offensive team. These teams could prove to be pretty comparable defensively. I think right now I'd give the edge to the Iowa Hawkeyes, but I more than trust Wisconsin's offense to go on the road and pull out that win, and I think they get a statement win on the road in Kinnick Stadium against the Iowa Hawkeyes. They will be coming back home, though, after their second bye week and lose to the Oregon Ducks. They're one of the most talented teams in the country with Dylan Gabriel, a ton of offensive and defensive talent. Dan Lanning's squad is ready to go compete for a national title. Then you got to go on the road and play the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Ooh, watch out for this one. Watch out. Now, Nebraska's back half of the schedule gets really, really tricky, and they may be falling down into a little bit of a slump. Nebraska never has the best luck with Wisconsin. Husker fans, you know that more than anybody, maybe besides the Badger faithful out there. But Wisconsin will be competitive. They will win that game. Or I should say Nebraska will be competitive, but Wisconsin will win the game. Dylan Raiola is a stud at quarterback in the making. Nebraska's got a great defensive roster with a great defensive staff, but the Badgers, I think, are able to pull that one out in a close one on the road. And then on Friday, they will come home and beat the Minnesota Golden Gophers in their rival. Same kind of situation to Iowa. The defense will be good, but how much does the offense get better? So I have 8-4 for the Wisconsin Badgers in 2024. A pretty good record for year 2 under Luke Fickell. It definitely could be better. You got a lot of tough home games. You got a lot of tough road games. 6-6 is my floor. 10-2 is my ceiling. I feel like the floor is a little bit more possible than the ceiling, but I feel like Wisconsin's going to take a step in the right direction here under Luke Fickell in 2024. Let me know what you think about the Badgers in the comment section below. Remember to play hard and tailgate harder. And coming up next will be the Auburn Tigers. Happy Father's Day, everyone. Have a good day. Goodbye.